Assalamu alaikum and good morning, everyone. How are you guys doing today?
Walaikum salam, Nate.
How is everybody doing today? Everybody okay?
So far, so good, Nate.
Alhamdulillah. All right, guys. Uh, Today, inshallah, we will move on to week 3. We are going to discuss about two major, let's say, sections of this course, which are very, very important. Today's class is going to be um, quietly long. We are going to discuss about learning theories, each theory aside, take examples, and then the second part we are going to discuss about instructional design, definition, and models, and so on. So I really hope that you will be um, you will take participation into account is very important. And you can stop me anytime if you have any questions, right? And obviously, at the end of the class, we are going to have an e-learning activity as usual. So, as I was just saying, we're going to discuss about learning theories, which is, let's say the most important topic of this course, right? Now, before we go into learning theories, let me have a little discussion with you. Is teaching an art, or it is something uh, like, like a talent? Is it like talent, how to teach people, or it's something that you need to study? What do you think?
Something they only to study.
Something you need to study, all right. What about other opinions?
Something they only to study. Yeah.
All right, so it's like it's science, not right now. um, Maybe some of you will say that, some teachers, they already studied, and but they don't know how to actually teach. They don't get the skills about teaching and how to communicate with the students and so on. Now, when it comes to teaching, guys, it is a science that you need to, school yourself, educate yourself, how to understand your students, how your students are thinking, and all this kind of, stuff. But at the same time, you need to have the talent as well. All right. If you don't have the talent, you can educate yourself. So, in both cases, education is considered as a science. You know why? Because we are dealing with humans, and humans are different. You will have like 30 or 40 students in one class, and you need to understand all their, personalities. So they are different. To be able to deal with all these personalities at the same time, you need to educate yourself. And this is how, or this is, where we need learning theories. So learning theories get us to understand how other people think. When you understand how other people think, then you are at the stage where you can, or you are able to teach them. So if you wish to know how to teach, we first must understand how people learn or how people think. This is the major concept about learning theories. Now, because we deal with the human, we are in human science, right? It is totally different if you are teaching something related to human science or education. It's different if you teach, like, engineering or science, pure science. When you teach pure science, you actually do not directly deal with humans. We are not teaching about students. We are not teaching about people. We are teaching about science. So we as educators, we need to understand how they think to be able to actually communicate with them. So the the main purpose of learning theories is to give us information, background about the people that we are going to teach. So, learning theories are conceptual frameworks that describe the manner in which information is absorbed, processed, and retained during the learning. All right. So, it will teach us how the students will process the information we transfer to our students. Okay. Now, in any learning theory, there are three main categories or components, which is the inputs, the results, and the means. Input, the information that the sender has. Okay? The input, what is the information I want to transfer to my students? All right? And then we have the results, or in other words, the output. Okay? What is this information has changed among my students? Let's say I'm teaching something about culture or something about religion. All right, something that is heavy, um, among my students. Now I prepare myself with examples and stuff like that, and then I did my class. I finished my class, and then now I will ask questions. During these questions, if I have participants, if I have answers from different students, then I will get the input. So I know that I have changed some concepts among my students. If I didn't get any answers, all the students are quiet, there's no feedback, then I didn't even do anything, you know? So this is the meaning of input and results or output. Now, to be able to transfer this knowledge, I have the means. Means means that the things that I use to help me out transfer this knowledge that I have. So, what are the process by which the results are brought to my students? Now, let me ask you this. Now, during this class, what is the input, what is the output, and what is the mean for this class that is happening right now? Anyone can answer? Anyone? Anyone? I will ask you.
Doctor,
Yeah. Yes.
I want to try
Yeah,
for
yeah, please
like
go.
for example for today the inputs for today that doctor teach us about learning theories and the output
Mhm.
if the class understand what you teach for today and able to answer the question that you ask, and the main is that we use webex or the slide or the notes.
Okay, Rayhan, amazing. Thank you very much. All right. This is the meaning of, or let's say the definition of any learning theory components, right? So if I have the objective, the input, if I measure the understanding of my students at the end of the class, and if I prepare the means very well, then I have applied a learning theory. Now, to be able to know which learning theory fits my class, this is what we are going to learn in today's class. Now, learning theories have three main categories, right? Behaviorism, cognitivism, and constructivism. We will discuss about each one and take examples in details because, as I mentioned, this one is very important for you as educators. You know, not only for this class to pass or to get marks, it's very important for you to understand, right? Now, when we deal with the first learning theory, which is behaviorism, from the meaning of it, the term behaviorism, we are dealing with behavior. You want to change students' behavior, right? So, based on behavioral changes, it focuses on a new behavioral pattern being repeated until it becomes automatic. Now, if I want to change anything among my students, what do? I will teach them how to do it the first time. If it's not clear, I will repeat, and then I will ask them to do it by themselves. Now, when they repeat time by time, it will get into their mind and it will be like a routine. When it comes to something like a routine, this is what we mean by pattern. It will become part of their life. All right. Now, behaviorism theory has these theorists that are very, very, let's say, critical. They have actually made the evaluation of behaviorism. We started with Pavlov. Pavlov, what he actually did is he had a dog, right? And then he did this experiment among his dog. What he did was every time he will bring food to his dog, he will bring a bell, right? Just bring the bell every time there is food, okay? Now, day by day, time by time, the dog has a pattern in his mind. So whenever he hear the bell, even if there is no food, he knows that it's food time. Okay? This is how we create a pattern in ourselves. Okay? So Pavlov, one more time, what he did was he connected or he actually created a relationship between the ring of the bell and the food time. So whenever there is a food, he will bring the bell. So the food creates this pattern in his mind. All right. This is Pavlov. Now we have Thorndike, 1974. He actually studied human psychology and developed connectionism theory, where learning was formatting of a connection between stimulus and responses. It's very, very similar to Pavlov, but he added something. What he added is, let's say, learning was the formulation of a connection between stimulus and responses. Let me tell you an example. Now, if you go to a class, all right, and there is a very good students and there is, a medium like level students and there is a poor level of students. Now, if you give the information and you ask questions, the good students will always answer your questions. So, if they answer, you will give them something like marks or bonus or something like that. When you do that, you actually created um, a connection between the stimulus and the response of your students. So they know if I answer, if I participate, my mark will be good. Okay. So if I didn't answer, then I know my mark will be affected in any way. Okay. So he created a connection between the stimulus and the responses. And then the third one, which is Watson, what he did exact same thing as Thorndike, but he added a condition to that. Right? He added a condition. Now, what he actually did is not ethical, but we need to learn it anyway. Uh, he in his experiment, he brought a baby, a newborn baby, all right, And then he would actually showed this baby a rat, a white rat. Okay. But every time he showed him this rat, he will make a very scary music at the background. Okay, focus. Now, the baby created this pattern in his head that every time I see this rat, the music, the scary music will be played. And then he connected the rat with this, scary music. So after a while, he stopped of actually playing the music. He would only show the baby the rat without any music, but he still cry every time. Why? Because he added a condition to that. He added a condition. So the rat is very scary. I need to cry every time I see it because it's connected to the scary music. Okay. This is what I mean by conditioning. He added a condition to the music so that sorry, to the rat. So the baby will think that it is something scary that is going on, even if I stop the music. Just like the dog, when I ring the bell and it's food time, right? But we added a condition. Finally, with the behaviorism, we have Skinner. What he did is he developed the principles of operant conditioning function, including positive reinforcement, reward, negative reinforcement, and so on, or punishment or whatever. So he added that, okay, you ask questions, the student don't answer, then you need to punish them. If the students are punished, then next time they will participate. Okay, this is what I mean by operant conditioning functioning. Okay, if the students answered, maybe I could bring some sweet or biscuits or whatever, so I need to reward them, so they know that every time they will answer my questions I need to reward them. And then on the other side, if they didn't answer or they didn't participate, I need to punish them. Okay, so this is the whole meaning of behaviorism. Is it clear, guys? Any questions so far? Are we clear with behaviorism? Okay. So one more time, this is like a summary about what I explained right now. The behaviorism perspective, it is all about how we observe uh, the other part, behavior, where we actually could reinforcement, where reward, all right? And this theory is considered to be the foundation for computer assisted instruction. And it does not reinforce higher level skills. It is all only for basic knowledge or skills. So the behaviorism, if we could actually make a summary, there is the classical conditioning, operant conditioning, and the social learning theory. The classical, as we discuss about the dog and the bell, this is the classical conditioning, all right? The operant conditioning, it's about as we discussed with Skinner, right? When we reward or give punishment, okay? And the social learning theory, behavior is shaped by observing and imitating the behavior of others. Okay, this is one more theorist called Bandura, 1973. All right, everything clear about behaviorism?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, good. Now, when we talk about cognitivism, what do you think? What is the difference between behaviorism and cognitivism? What is cognitivism is all about?
Is it changing the way they think in your mind?
Exactly. It is about their thoughts, my students' thoughts. Okay. So it is something that we don't know. But how do we know? By their actions. Okay? So when we talk about cognitivism, we are dealing with the thoughts that the students have. Okay? Now, any changes in behavior are observed, as we mentioned before. I show them a rat, then he is scared. He cried. But when it's something that related to the mind or thoughts, we couldn't know. But we need some signs. We need actions to be able to know what is happening, what is going on. Okay. Now, cognitivism is all about how learners receive, process, and manipulate the information. So we don't know how the learners are receiving or processing the information unless we ask. If we ask our students, we only know that, okay, there is a problem here, there's a problem there, we need to fix it, and so on. All right. So it's all about mental models, cognitive strategies, and it is more related to independent learners, right? The compromise between teaching and required standards and the metacognitive approach to teaching the 21st century learner. Now, what do we mean here is when we deal with, this new generation, especially Generation Z. Generation Z is the generation that is actually technology native. They were born with technology all around. Now you can see babies holding smartphones. Okay, they are technology native. Now this generation is called Generation Z. When we deal with this generation in particular, we need to understand how they think because the way they think is different from other generation. It's totally different. All right? There's no other generation has been exposed to the amount of technology that generation Z has. Okay? So it's all about their thoughts and minds and so on. That's why we need to understand about this theory more. Okay? Now, as the behaviorism, we have the cognitivism. The cognitivism has three main concepts, okay, that we could help us understand about this theory. Number one is called schema, three-stage information processing model, and mnemonic effects. Now, when we talk about schema, it is the mental structures by which individuals organize their perceived environment and internal knowledge structure. New information is compared to existing cognitive structures, which is called schema. Now, let me give you an example to understand what actually schema mean. Now, let's say you have a little sister or a little brother, very, very young, maybe 10 months or 11 month years old, and he is about to walk. He is about to take his first or her first step. Okay, at the first time, very, very first time. Now, what this child will do is he will create a schema, right? What do we mean by schema is he will first, he will not actually walk from the first time. First, he will try to stand and balance himself. Okay? So this is step number one. He will repeat this step as many times as he or she needs before taking the first step. Okay? So this is number one. I stand. I know how to balance myself. Okay, I'm good to go. Now, second step is I'm gonna take my first step. I'm gonna move my leg farther, right? When I move my leg, I'm gonna fall, right? And then I'm going to repeat all this over again. I repeat it all over and all over many times until he actually masters how to stand and walk at the same time. This is what I mean by schema. We build information inside our brain and it tells us what to do. Okay. Another example is how to drive a car. Okay. For the first time, when you in a car for the first time, I'm sure you are going to go through the, the test and whatsoever. I'm talking about the practical part. Okay, when you hold, when you are actually inside the car for the first time, you know that you need to switch on, you need to do this, and you need to do that. So uh, after that, it is something that, routine. It is something that is easy for you to do. From there, you go to the next step and so on. All right. Is that clear, guys? Any questions? Can anyone give me an example of schema? Let me hear new voices, please. What do you mean by schema? An example. Any example? Is it that hard?
Showing some interest.
Come again?
Showing some interest.
Showing some interest in what exactly?
Into something that moving up or down.
That is
Moving up or down.
okay. Showing some interest in a movement for the first time. Okay, could be an example. Any other examples? Okay, when I explain, I give you examples. Do you guys understand?
Can you give another example?
Okay. Now, when you learn about the example of the kid for the first time and how to actually walk, is this example clear? Okay, another example. Let's say you are very, very shy to talk in front of people, even if the class is online. Okay, but if you talk one time only, you will feel like embarrassed, whatever. But when you answer and you give a good answer, correct answer, and then you get, let's say, a reward from the teacher. Okay, now you have built a schema, right? You have built a schema of how to answer, how not to be shy, how to just able to talk. Okay. For the next time when I ask another question, you will answer very quickly. And that is why I have like 5 or 6 students who are always participating with me because they actually did participate the first time and they saw that there's nothing wrong with being, you know, engaged in the class. It's online. I'm not seeing you, I'm not judging you, I just want to hear your voice. So they built a schema about how to be there, how to be in the class. Okay, how to answer easily. Same goes to presentation. If you have like a fear of presenting in front of people, uh, the first time that you are going to present is going to be very, very scary, but the second time will be less, the third will be less, the fourth will be less, and so on. So why? Because it is nothing to be scared about. Okay, so you build that schema that will encourage you to just go there and talk, right? This is what I mean by schema. Clear, Sarah? Can you give me an example now?
Clear, doctor.
Maybe for the example, for the first time I want to cook, maybe I feel scared. But the second, when I first time cook, uh, when the first
Yes,
time cook,
very good example.
I feel scared. But the second time I feel less scared.
Exactly. It's not about being scared, it's how to do this. First time to make a cake, for example, you are not familiar with the ingredients, the time of baking, whatever. But when you do this, more and more, you will get the schema going on. Okay, this is what I mean by schema. The second concept is the three-stage information processing model that they claim that anything that you want to remember, it needs to go through three stages. Okay. Number one is called sensory register. Okay. When I get information for the first time, just like this class, it will goes through my sensory register. I will get the information. I understand for now. Okay. But I will not remember all the information after 1 week. I will forget something. Okay, so it will go through the short term memory. Okay, but if I participated in the class, if I answer a particular question, I'm sure that I'm going to remember it for a long time. It will go for the long term memory. Okay, so for example, if I ask a question during the class, okay, and this particular question actually came in the final, this question. Now, I am sure 100% that if any of you answered this particular question, he will remember or she will remember the correct answer very quickly because it's already there in their long term memory, right? So, three stages information processing method: sensory register, short term memory, and long term memory, right? Now, the third one is called mnemonic effects, which are strategies that are used by learners to organize relatively meaningless input into more meaningless images or semantic context. Okay, what do we mean here is always remember this example because it's the perfect example for mnemonic effects. How are we actually solving mathematical questions? We actually follow a systematic way. Systematic way. We need like step by step solutions. Okay. When you have this step by step, okay, number one, I'm going to do this. Number two, I'm going to do this. Number three, if I follow any other strategies, I'm not going to solve this question. This is what I mean by mnemonic effect. All right. So making the answer into steps and knowing that these are the steps that I need to follow. Otherwise, I'm going to be lost. Okay. For example, if you have like a strategy that you used to use during the final, okay, the way that you study. Maybe you actually study loud, you talk to yourself, or you study silent reading. If you follow any other strategy, it's not going to work for you. Then you have created a mnemonic effects. You know what to do. You know the steps that you need to follow, right? Do you have any questions? Clear, guys? I really, really hope to hear more voices. Please unmute and talk anytime. Okay? So, cognitivism is all about processing, storing, and memorizing the information, new information, and move it from not only the sensory register and not only the short term memory, but for the long term memory. Otherwise, you are going to forget the information. That is why it's very important for you to be active, right? Be active. Now, the third learning theory is called constructivism. What do you mean by constructivism, guys? What do we mean by constructivism? Constructivism. Anyone, please try. Go ahead. Unmute. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Just talk. It's our job to talk. We are teachers. Anyone would like to try? What do we mean by constructivism? Should I call names? I don't like to call names actually. Um, I feel that some of you would names. Yes, please. Finally, Lokman, go ahead.
Right. The theory is really the learning construct knowledge rather than just specifically take the information.
Okay, your voice was not clear, but what I understood is it's about how retrieve knowledge, not
Yeah.
only receiving. Yeah.
Then specifically take the information.
Okay, that's good. Thank you, Lokman. Okay, guys. When we talk about constructivism, we are talking about independent learners. How so? Let's say we have created a situation, right? A problem for my student. And I ask them to solve this question independently. Okay? Real life questions, real life problem. This is what I mean by constructivism. We construct our student to be independent. Learning is not only about receiving knowledge. You need to do something about it. Otherwise, it's a waste of time, right? So if you are not willing to learn, doesn't matter how much information you receive every day, it's a waste. So you need to be constructive, all right? You need to be able to receive this information. So when we talk about constructivism, we are talking about critical thinking. We need to develop critical thinking among our students. Ask your students, make them participate, engage them in your class, right? It's not only about transferring the knowledge that you have. This is not your job. This was teaching 100 years ago. It is totally different in our in today's life. The generation that we teach, they could actually be smarter than us, okay, in some aspects, in technology, programming, whatever. They could be actually more knowledgeable about this area, okay, so they could be smarter than us. So we need to activate their critical thinking. We need to uh, activate the problem solving skills. All right, this is about constructivism. Now, in constructivism, we have two major, let's say, categories. Okay, cognitive constructivism and social constructivism. Okay, when we talk about cognitive constructivism, it is structured for the individual, meaning that it is all about individual experience. It is something that related to my experience alone. Okay, that's why it's called cognitive constructivism. I judge something based on experiment that I have been through, right? So individual experience and process through which learner occurs, understanding independent invention. It's all about individual experience, independent. Now, social constructivism comes with socializing with the environment, with other students, with other people. It is called social. Okay, so let's say the knowledge or the experiment, the background that I have, it comes from my participate as socialize with other people. Now, why do we actually need to learn about learning theories? This is a question I asked at the beginning of the class. Learning theories will make us understand how the students think. So only we can understand or we able to teach our students. So in creating educational environment, which is the major purpose of this class, educational technology, all right, we are your project, the final project is to create educational media, right, or educational environment. So you need learning theory to build your project based on, because we are dealing with the human, we need learning theory. That is why any postgraduate students, whether master or PhD, you need to find a theory that fits your research. Otherwise, it's not going to be approved. If you don't have a learning theory that you are going to build your thesis based on, then you are not actually doing a master or a PhD in social science, right? It's very important to understand this. Now, the social psychology perspective, as I mentioned, it's all about cooperative socializing. It goes for independent and for group as well. And it's all about the student control, how not to be student only. Try to activate the teaching sense in your students, okay? It's not only about your role. You are not the control. You are not as a teacher. I'm talking about you as a teacher. You are not only the one that who is in control. Always remember to activate your student role as well. It must be a two ways communication. Otherwise, it is the same teaching philosophy they were using 100 years ago. Okay, so do not always do not be that teacher that I'm a one-way communication teacher school. I'm just the one that who is responsible to send information. This is not correct. This is not the correct way to do it. Okay. So in reality, those who are clinging to a single approach, which is like one behavior or one cognitive or one constructivism, it is not true. That's why you need to collaborate between these three theories at one time. You need to understand the behavior, you need to understand about the cognitivism of your students, and then the construct as well. So you need to understand the whole meaning of these three theories to be able to understand your student. Any questions about the theories? It's very important topic, guys. If you do have something to ask, I don't mind. Just please ask me. Any questions? Learning theories. And by the way, I have uploaded a video, a recording video that was maybe 1 year or 2 years ago. Just for your information, you could actually watch this video in e-learning. Any questions regarding learning theories? Everything clear? Okay, now why, or let's say, what is the relation between learning theories and educational technology? Why do we need to learn about learning theories in this course or in this subject? Because I am sure that you have learned about learning theories in other subjects, right? Why do we need to learn about learning theory in this course? Because When we talk about educational technology, we are talking about something that is related to design of the instructions. Okay? What does that mean? Now, you are required to create instructional design at the end of this course, or the media, or you just call it, you just name it, all right? The output of this course is for you to be able to create multimedia or media or whatever that you are going to use in the future as a teacher. Now, this is called instructional design. So, what is instructional design? Without knowing the meaning of instructional design, you will not be able to develop anything at all, right? So, instructional design is the way how we teach our instructions. It is not random, right? The way that we teach or the way that we create any media that we use in teaching, it is not random. Now, the most common example of instructional design is UTM e-learning. All right. Now, UTM e-learning website has been developed by a huge team. Okay. Now, this team has programmers, graphic designers, okay, to create the buttons and, the text, the colors, all right, everything, the programming codes, everything. But it's very important to know that behind this team, there was some educational background experts. These from School of Education people, they will tell the programmers how to develop this website. Is it suitable for my students to use? Is it suitable for UTM students to use? Are they actually exposed to this kind of technology before? Is it familiar with them? Are they able to go or log in e-learning and actually be active in the forum or discussion and so on? Okay, all this information has been studied. Okay, and it is there for a reason. Okay, so when it comes to educational media, it is not only about the graphic designer, or it's not only about the programmers that actually write the codes. No, there is an educational expert. This educational expert is called instructional designer. Okay, so instructional design is how do we design any educational context. Okay, guys, is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, now don't look at the definition, or you can look, all right? Tell me, what is the job of instructional designer? It's actually a job, and you can apply for instructional designer if you have educational technology, bachelor degree or master degree with a wide experience. And it's a very well paid job, instructional designer. You can work in, you know, very big leading company. So, what is the instructional designer job? Anyone? What is the problem, guys? What is the job of any instructional designer?
Instructional design, it define how to design the educational context.
Great, Danny. Thank you very much. So, one is how to design any educational context, right? So, it's very important for you to differentiate between instructional design, okay, meaning, definition, and educational technology from the first week. Educational technology is using technology as a tool inside our classroom. It is very, very different from instructional design. Instructional design is the way, the guidelines, the theoretical basis of how to create or design or develop our educational context. All right. Now, why do we have to design the instruction? Obviously, to increase and enhance the possibility of learning. Why do we need to design e-learning from the beginning? Why do we actually need e-learning? All right. Why do we need e-learning? Because we want to make education simple for our students. In case of any circumstances, they are able to actually be connected, to download notes, to actually discuss together, right? This is all the, the purpose of instructional design. Make the acquisition of knowledge and skill more efficient, effective, appealing by using technology. Without technology, we would not be having this class today. Okay? So WebEx is an educational tool because it connects us together, all right? What we discuss inside WebEx is the educational context, right? Encourage the engagement of learners so that they learn faster and gain deeper levels of understanding. So the main purpose of instructional design. Now, what is the relation between instructional design and learning theories? Why instructional designers need to be from educational background, okay? Not programming, not graphic design. Instructional designer need to be from educational background so that they know how people think, how the student think. Let's say you are a teacher, you are teaching physics, okay? And you want to develop a website for your course, okay? Where do you go? Do you go to a programmer or instructional designer, and why? Now, the one that is going to answer this question, I'm going to give you 2 marks, but it needs to be correct. I will repeat the question again. You are a physics teacher and you want to develop a website for your course, just for you, okay? You want to use it inside your classroom. Where actually are you going to go? Is it for a programmer to program the website or educational instructional designer?
Programmer.
Educational instructional designer.
Why? The
Maybe
question is,
because uh because he want to build about apps about physics, so they need to understand first about the physics, about the subject first, so they can
okay,
build apps.
that's good. Now, Sarah, continue with me. Now, if I go to instructional designer and he knows everything about the subject, but he doesn't know about programming, then is there anything else I can do? You get my question, Sarah?
Can you repeat it, sir?
Okay, good. Now you answer correctly. Okay. I go to instructional designer, but my question was if the instructional designer has no knowledge about programming, how to develop the website itself, what is the solution now? Do I go to programmer or what should I do?
Um, Maybe I will collab with the program.
Exactly. Exactly, Sarah. Thank you very much. You get 2 marks, but just remind me in WhatsApp, okay? Now, if I am a teacher that I want to develop instructional context, what I do is I don't go to programmer. I go to instructional designer, okay? And he will give me the guideline and he will give me the educational background of the website. Only then, if I gather all this information, only then I go to a programmer to help me out with it. Okay? If Because some instructional designer have knowledge of programming because he has been there for in the field for a long time, so he had to learn about programming. That's good. But if he doesn't, no problem. I just take the educational guideline, whatever I need, and then I go to programmer. That's it. Okay. So going to a programmer directly is very wrong because he has nothing to do with education. You are a teacher, you need to refer to instructional designer. I really hope that instructional designer job is clear now. Okay? So instructional designer will tell me what to do, how to do it, and the simplest way to reach my students' engagement. Thank you again, Sarah. I hope for the rest to participate. Okay, good. Now, instructional design will be based on the three psychological principles of learning, which are the learning theories: behavioral, cognitive, and constructivism. Now, when I design as instructional designer, I need to consider these three psychological principles or learning theories. Okay, so my design as instructional designer will be based on theories. It's not random. It is not something that I just came with. Okay, one more time, we are dealing with human. We need to refer to other people work. Very important information. Good. Now, what is instructional design models? Instructional design models or methods or framework, just name it, whatever. It is the stages that tells us what to do and when. What to do and when. Now, let's take an example to make it clear. Now, okay, let me think of something simple. Now, okay, now something happened in your school, problem with your friend, okay, and you called your mother, your father, whoever you talk with, okay, and you tell him the whole story, and your parent, your father, mother, tells you what to do exactly. And this information that she or he gives you is based on her personal knowledge because she have been through the same problem, same situation, and she give you advice based on this. Now, what she gives you is a model. You understand the meaning of model now? So the model is what to do and when and how exactly to do it. This is the definition of model. Now we have instructional model that tells us how to develop the instruction step by step. We have the very famous common models: assure, uh, this one, gain 9 events of instruction, ADDIE, ARCS, and so on. Let's take one by one. The first one is assure. Now, all the models is a shortcuts. Okay, so assure, for example, it's the first letters of the phases of the model. Assure, ASSURE, A for analyze learners, S for state standards and objective, second S for select strategies and so on, U for utilize technology, R for require and so on. Okay, so this model tells us the way that we design. First, we need to analyze our learners. Let's say my students are from the first grade, first grade, and I want to develop a website for them. Can I? I can. okay, but it's very complicated. It needs to be very simple, has a lot of colors, images, very colorful, okay? So I need to analyze my student first to understand the appropriate tool that I'm going to use on them. This is what I mean by analyze learners. Second one is state the standard and objectives. I need to be very clear with what objective I need to achieve at the end of using this website. If there is no objective is going to be achieved, then this is just a waste of time and money and efforts. Okay. So it needs to be for sorry objective. Now, the third one is select strategies, technologies, media, and materials. I need to be very, very clear with what materials that I'm going to use. What is the best strategy? For example, if it's a first grade students, then I need a lot of video clips. I need a lot of music, sounds, songs, okay? Utilize technology, media, and materials, how to use this technology, not only select it, but how to use it the correct way. And require learner participation, which is very important to be able to be, or to, let's say, make it two ways of communication, not only one way. Always remember this. Two ways of communication is activating your student role inside the classroom. You are not the one who has all the information. This era is gone, okay? Your students might be smarter than you. You need to accept this fact, okay? So you need to make your students more engaged during your classroom. And finally, evaluate and revise. What do we mean here is I need to collect data, make sure that this website is actually working, all right? Ask for feedback at the end of the class, at the end of the semester, just like the PPT survey. If there is something wrong, you need to be aware of that and try to fix it and so on. All right? Clear, guys? You are following? All right. Now, all models go the same way, but in different phases. Okay. So let's see now, a sure model has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 phases. Okay. Now, the second one is is called 9 event of instruction. So there is 9 stage or phases or stage. Allah. Now, this 9 is 1, gain attention instead of analyzing learners. Second is inform learner of objective. I need to inform my students. This is based on this, author of the model. Okay, so it's totally different. Each model has its own stages. It's not connected to each other. So whatever model that you want to use, you need to follow these stages. Right? The third one is ADDIE model. Now, ADDIE is very, very, very common model among instructional designers. Why? Because it is short and sweet, and it covers everything that is actually important. Now, he claimed that there are 5 phases that you need to follow as instructional designer. 1, analysis. 2, design, develop. Sorry. 1, analysis, design, develop, implement, and then evaluate. Okay, so there are 5. I think this one, analyze, design, develop, implement, and evaluate. This is what this one is wrong. This one should be implement here, and this one should be a second here, implement, and this one should be evaluate. Right? So there are five phases. Good. In the analysis phases, what I need to do is analyze my student background. I make sure that they know what to do. They actually familiar with internet, familiar with computers. They have a background of websites and so on. Then the design phase, it include the learning objectives, whatever instruments that I'm going to use, whatever tools, the content, the quizzes, the final exams, everything about the course in the design. I need to highlight. And then the develop, this is the process where I start the practical part. Okay, I start developing the website. I gathered the information about my students. I have my objective clear with me. Now I start developing. When I finish developing the website, I will start to implement. I give the website to my students to start use. Okay, we're actually here where learners actually receive the instruction and materials prepared for them throughout the previous three stages of the ADDI model. So the implementation phase, the students start using the website. Then finally, evaluation. I get the feedback from the students. I ask questions. Is there something wrong? Is there something difficult with the website, guys? You just tell me. Do you have any difficulties? Do you have any challenges? All right. This is the evaluation model. All right. So this is ADDI model. I myself use ADDI model in my PhD thesis, like 9 years ago. Okay. When I created my PhD thesis, I used ADDI model as instructional design model for my website that I have created for my students back then, right? So it's a very common um, instructional design model. Before we conclude our class, I would like to ask if there is any question about instructional design or instructional design models. Everything clear? Okay. Now, as a conclusion for this class, for the first part, learning theories, in order to teach, we need to know how people think or how people learn. That's why learning theories are there. We need to learn from learning theories to be able to deal with people and to deal with our students. And learning theories is about the three psychological stages: behaviorism, which is for the behavior of the students; cognitivism, which is about the thoughts, what they think in their mind; and constructivism. It's about letting the students be independent, right? Now, in these slides, the information are there, all right? Everything that you need to know is there, but there are some information that I have discussed with you, which is very critical information that you need to, understand, because some of the questions at the final or even the quiz will be from my explanation. It's not only the slides. That is why this class is very important, whether it's for learning theories and instructional design. Okay, guys? All right, now I have created a task activity in e-learning. Find out about ARC model and discuss it in e-learning. And what is the implications of our ARC model in teaching and learning? What you need to do, exactly like the previous models. Okay, let's say this is ADDI model now. All right, ADDI has 5 phases. I use ADDI model in my teaching and learning. In the analysis phase, I did 1, 2, 3. I analyzed my student. I did this and did that. In the design, I started to design my instructions and so on. All right. You are going to do the same, but with ARC model. ARC model. And finally, you are going to mention the implications of this model in teaching and learning. And it's going to be open because we are at the end of the week. I'll just leave it open until Friday. Is that okay?
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, Doctor, no problem.
You guys, one more time, any questions before we end our class today?
Doctor, is there the recording for the today lesson will be uploaded in the e-learning?
Yes, yes. I will send it into WhatsApp group. I will put the link in e-learning as well. And there is another recording, pre-recording through YouTube already there in e-learning. So you have 2 recording. No worries.
All right, thank you, Doctor.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, guys. Thank you very much for joining me today. Take care, and I'll see you next week.
Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
You guys.
Thank
Bye.
you, Doctor.